How is it going, YouTube? Most Sports Network back with another one of my NFL Power Ranking videos. Today we are talking about the number 27th team in my Power Rankings, the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, Raiders fans, don't come at me. I will start this video by saying pretty much every team here on out, I think, has the ability to make the playoffs. I don't think the Raiders will, but if all goes right, if certain injuries happen across the division, I think this team has that talent, and I think every team down the line through the rest of these power rankings has that ability as well. I think the Raiders' roster is overwhelming, or underwhelming rather, in a lot of key positions that are important, and we're going to talk about that today. But just know, even though the number says 27, you can leave your hateful comment if you just want to look at the number. I think this team has a lot of potential. Like I said, the 28th team in the Dolphins, I thought they could win 6 games. That's what I think they'll do. And they are one of my bottom teams in the league. Bottom 5, that is. So again, with the Raiders, cool your jets. I think this team will be competitive, and they have pretty good potential. So we're going to start, as we always do, with the coaching staff. No, I don't want updates from Raiders.com. John Gruden's the head coach, offensive mind. Did pretty well last year in a year where I thought the Raiders were going to stink. He actually helped them to have a pretty decent season. So good on him for that. I think with an underwhelming offense, he produced, and I want to see them build on that this year, and I think they can. The rest of the coaching staff, you have Greg Olson at offensive coordinator. Nothing too inspiring there from him. And then Paul Gunther's the defensive coordinator. He was in line for a head coaching job in Cincinnati, but he took the defensive coordinator job at Las Vegas, or at Oakland at the time when he left. And I think Gunther's a very solid defensive coordinator, if not a little underperforming. So John Gruden, I think he can get this team some extra wins. I thought when he was hired, I thought he was an incredibly overrated hire and thought he would crash and burn. After outperforming in season 1, I'm kind of on the John Gruden trade and think they can perform. But not too much to say. He kind of speaks for himself. Just look up anything he says, and that'll kind of tell you what you need to know, whether you should like him or dislike him. So we're going to hop right into the roster now, which is what we obviously spend the most time on, and we start at quarterback. I'm not going to do some talk about the offense as a whole right now. I just want to get right into the players. Nate Peterman's not on this team anymore. So it's Derek Carr. It's the Derek Carr show to start the season. And I think Derek Carr, in 2016, he showed he can be a franchise quarterback. And pretty much since then, he kind of hasn't. He hasn't really contradicted himself, but he's been a very conservative quarterback. 4,000 yards, good for 8th in the league, 21 touchdowns, 8 picks. A good season for Carr last year, and he's going to need to have another season, maybe better, in order for this team to make the playoffs. Now, I've never been a guy who was on like the let's draft the new quarterback this year over Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is kind of in this no man's land realm where I'm not sure if he can get you to the promised land, but I also don't think he's going to lose you a crap ton of games and kind of make your team stink. So the Raiders will at least be competitive this year just because of the fact they have Derek Carr keeping things afloat. He's not going to win you too many more games than you'd expect, but he's also not going to lose those games for you. Looking back to 2016 when they won like 12 games, they lost in the playoffs because he was out. I think that's the best you can see from Carr. That's the best he will play in his career. But I think you can get maybe a slightly lesser version of that. And hopefully this year you can get almost what you got in 2016 from Carr again in his second year under Gruden's system. And that wouldn't shock me. Again, I just have this team low because there are certain parts of the roster that are underwhelming to me, and I don't think quarterback is one. I think Carr is probably around the 20s as far as starting quarterback is concerned, just because there are so many good quarterback talents in the league right now. But game manager, can get the job done for the most part. So we're going to go over to the running backs, and I like what this team has in running back. Josh Jacobs in his rookie year, good stuff from him, had over 1,000 yards as a rookie. So really like what I saw from Josh Jacobs year one. Pretty big Jalen Richard fan as well. He'll be a good backup. And then Lynn Bowden Jr. out of Kentucky. Not really a running back. He was a quarterback at the end of college. He did a lot of receiving. So he's more of a gadget player, if anything, but I like him as a weapon on this team. So not too much to talk about with the running game. They will get the job done on the ground, especially with their offensive line. Now we move on to the wide receivers, and this is a bit more of an underwhelming group, I have to say. Now, I don't know what Henry Ruggs is yet. He was my third best receiver in the draft. The Raiders took him as the first, so they thought he was the best or the best fit for this team. And I don't know what to get from him. He is a deep ball threat, and Derek Carr isn't really a deep ball thrower. Maybe Henry Ruggs can make Carr a deep ball thrower. And if you unlock that ability from Derek Carr, I think this offense becomes dangerous. But I haven't seen Carr be able to do it yet. He hasn't had a receiver like Ruggs on this offense before. So I'm interested what will happen. I can't speculate and say Ruggs is going to step in and be great because we haven't seen Carr work with a receiver like him before. But I'm not going to say it won't work. Rest of the guys, you have some incumbents. Tyrell Williams, not too inspiring. He was this team's number one last season, and he did okay. I think Tyrell's a 2 to a 3. He's not your number one receiver. They're hoping that's what Ruggs can be. Then Hunter Renfrow in the slot. He'll rack up catches, but Hunter Renfrow isn't just a terrifying kind of player. Other guys, Zay Jones, Nelson Aguilar, high upside guys who really didn't pan out in Buffalo. And I know Zay Jones was on the Raiders last year, but Buffalo and Philadelphia for Aguilar's sake. Aguilar, if he can catch the ball, he's dangerous. And then Jones, if he can stay on the field, he can do things too. But I think this depth chart's correct. And you also look at Bryan Edwards out of South Carolina. Look at his tape. He did some really good things out of South Carolina last season. I think he's a solid piece on this roster as well. Looking at tight end, Darren Waller did really good things last year. Gotta kind of ignore Jason Witten. I don't think he should be the number 2 tight end. I think it should be Foster Moreau. I like what I see from him. So 2 solid tight ends, and then the actual wide receivers. The problem here is you don't have that number 1 or even that definite number 2 guy unless Ruggs can pan out and be that. If Ruggs can be that Tyreek Hill type, this team is dangerous. I don't know what to expect from Henry Ruggs, and I'm not going to speculate on that, which again is why I have this team rated low. Tyrell Williams, Hunter Renfrow, Nelson Aguilar, Zay Jones, those guys are all like number 3 wide receivers. Maybe Williams on a good day is better than that. And I need to see more from Bryan Edwards and Henry Ruggs to evaluate that any further. Other guys, Keelan Doss, Marcel Aitman, they have potential, but I don't think they'll see much playing time either. So they just need that guy. And hopefully for them, Henry Ruggs can be that guy. But again, I had him as my number 3 receiver in this class. And I see him as a deep threat. I think at his peak, he can be Tyreek Hill. And I think at his floor, he could just be another version of like a John Ross or a Darius Hayward-Bay. I know that name brings up horrible memories with Raiders fans. I don't think Henry Ruggs will be that. I think he'll be much closer to Tyreek Hill than those other guys. But we haven't seen him play on the NFL field yet. So that's why I'm not going to speculate and say he's going to be great. We go to the offensive line now. I really like this group except for left tackle. I think when they picked Colton Miller, they reached on him. And I think Colton Miller is not where he needs to be as that starting left tackle for this team. I think he is a below average starter, but he's still a starter. And I think if he develops again, a lot of a lot of the Raiders things that need to go right this year, just certain players developing, Ruggs, Miller, etc., Edwards. If these guys can show out, I think this team has like top 15 in the league potential, plus. So But other than Colton Miller, who's a bit of a weak spot, Richie Incognito, I think he's a piece of crap, but he's a good left guard. And then Rodney Hudson, Gabe Jackson, Trent Brown definitely get the job done across the rest of the way. The right side of the line is going to be really good, and if Miller can develop, the whole line will be really solid. I think this team at the low end doesn't hurt, or this line doesn't hurt the Raiders, and at the high end it can help them accelerate into being something really impressive offensively. So a lot of things need to go right, and I think this is a speculation. I think at least a couple of them will go right, just because John Gruden is the coach, and after that first year, I trust in what I see in John Gruden. But where this is a transition into the defense, the offense is not what Raiders fans I think are concerned about. The offense for this team shows promise and will be good. Where I'm horrified is the defense. That there are good spots to this defense, but I have a question in this team's philosophy, given kind of what has happened here and how the defensive line really wasn't addressed in any way this offseason. Um, I mean, you have Malik Collins now. I guess you already had, or coming over from Dallas. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. So that's a new player to add to this defense. Uh, and then Jonathan Hankin, Clelin Ferrell, and Max Crosby. Um, Raiders fans, don't come at me. I think Max Crosby is overrated. I think 10 sacks a season is about what his limit is going to be, maybe a little more since he was a rookie. But he kind of scares me. Him and Ferrell, I think Clelin Ferrell has some upside, and maybe if he can be consistently what Max Crosby was last season, this pass rush can be solid. Um, but this defensive line worries me a bit. I don't know how well they're going to be able to rush the passer, and that's pretty much the same reason, besides the Reds or the Washington football team, why I've had every team this low so far. It's just because their lack of pass rush, and you need three really good pieces to be good in the NFL. You need a good quarterback, a good offensive line, and a good pass rush. You can kind of make do anywhere else. I mean, it really helps to have a number one receiver, as you saw last year. I think the Niners, Debo maybe was their number one receiver, but they didn't really have one, and they made the Super Bowl. Kansas City obviously had Tyreek Hill, and he's a game wrecker, so that helps. Um, but those are the three things you really need. Just taking a look at both those teams' offensive lines last year and their pass rushes, they were ridiculous. And then Patrick Mahomes, the best quarterback in the league, and Garoppolo got the job done. I think the Raiders tick two of those boxes with quarterback and line. I think Carr's about in the same school as Jimmy Garoppolo as far as how good he is, but this pass rush is not very good. I wanted another body there, like maybe Arden Key can develop a little more. Carl Nassib isn't that impressive. I know Mo Hurst can rush the passer a decent bit, but he hasn't been able to beat out guys like Jonathan Hankins yet. And they have Malik Collins starting. I don't know if it'll be him or Hurst, but yeah, this isn't the most inspiring pass rush overall. And then run stopping, they'll get it done. I think Hankins and Collins can do that well enough. As well as Furl and Hurst. I think those four guys will be able to stop the run well enough, along with these linebacking group, which I like a good bit. I really like the addition of Corey Littleton. As a Bengals fan, a guy I really wanted us to go after. I got to bring up I'm a Bengals fan every video, of course. But I think Littleton, best linebacker in this free agency class. Raiders bring him in. He's going to be the starting Mike linebacker, going to be the play caller, and I think he's perfect for that role. So I think Corey Littleton's a very nice addition. And then Nick Kwiatkowski, I can't speak today. He comes over from Chicago. He will He'll be a tackler as well as Nicholas Murrah. What are you talking about, Mo? As far as tacklers go, but these guys aren't really linebackers that will completely elevate your defense and take it to a next level. But I don't think Kwiatkowski or Morrow, I'm having a stroke trying to say that name, will really doom this defense either. And then looking at the secondary as well, you have a lot of just average players. You don't have that number one player. Raiders fans hoping Trayvon Mullen can take that next step. A lot of solid bodies though. You have Trayvon Mullen, Prince Amukamara, Marcus Joyner, Damon Arnett, Amik Robinson. Those are two rookies there, and then Nevin Lawson. Those guys are solid bodies at corner. I just don't think they are any of them are even top 20 corners by any means. And so you just have a bunch of solid bodies. Hopefully, they can defend guys like Tyreek Hill, Jerry Jeudy, who the Broncos just got. You have to deal with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams in LA. So there's a lot of issues, and I don't know if they have the cornerback, the one really solid guy. It's kind of like the Dolphins, who have two in Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, to be able to handle that. Then safeties, you have Jonathan Abram, young guy. The Demarius Randall, pretty good out of Cleveland. Good pickup there, I'd say. Although LaMarcus Joyner, I think, is solid at safety. So moving him back to corner, I'm not sure about that move. You got Jeff Heath, Eric Harris, Tanner Muse, good depth guys overall. So secondary, it's going to be a lot better. They came into this offseason with Eli Apple, or before Eli Apple didn't end up signing his contract. He was like their best corner on this team, and that was really concerning. But they have ended up making it a little better. But I don't think secondary is going to be one of their strong suits. I think if Arnett and Robertson can play this season and play at a good level, I think it could be above average. But right now, I think it's definitely below average, as well as their pass rush. I think the only part of this defense, only parts of this defense to have hope for. I really like Corey Littleton. Other than that, I think a lot of these pieces are underwhelming, and that's why I have this team so low. Raiders fans will tell you they're not going to win games by playing really tough defense. They're going to win games by outscoring you with this offense and John Gruden's system. And I think that's a nice approach to take. But I'm not going to lie to you and say just because you're taking that approach and you have a top 15 potential offense doesn't mean that your stinky defense, I'm not going to cut you slack for that. So that's what I have to say about the roster. We move on to their schedule. And I think this team has some potential wins. Like I said, with the Dolphins, I've been saying in the first few videos that the schedule is brutal. It's brutal for the Raiders in the fact that they have to play a third place schedule since LA got the fourth place schedule. So it's kind of tough for a team I don't have super high expectations for. But they can definitely find wins across the board. I think they can beat Carolina. Is Cam Newton up to speed by this point? Possible they beat New England. And then I don't really see them beat New Orleans, Buffalo, Kansas City, Tampa. Cleveland's a big question mark this year. They're a wild card. I'm higher on them this year. But you don't know what you're going to get there. You got 2 games against LA. I think Raiders will get at least one of them, if not 2, just because I don't like their quarterback situation this year. Denver, can he split with them as a division rival? That's a question mark. I think they could. Jets is winnable. What's Phillip Rivers going to do in Indy? I like Indy a lot more, but that's a question mark. Atlanta, are they going to get better? So there are a lot of wins across the board. If I were to speculate right now, I would have this team around 5 or 6 wins this season. I know that's less than last season. Taking a look at that schedule last year, they went 7-9, if I'm not mistaken. Taking a look here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins for the Raiders last season. So yes, for a roster that technically got better, this is a step back, but they're probably playing tougher teams now that they have an upgraded schedule to third place. But so I'm guessing they'll be around 6. They're not going to lose more. They're not going to lose more than like 12 games, 13 games. I think 4 wins is probably the floor for this team. Ceiling wise, I think they could win 9 to 10 games if they really get things going. I think they could get a surprise against like a Tampa or a Kansas City. They play Kansas City twice, so there's a thing there. I think they have the potential to split the division down the board. On the upside, they could beat LA twice. I think they could get that win versus Miami potentially. Atlanta, New York, maybe Cleveland, and then Carolina right there. Those games alone, that's 9 wins. And then just an upset against any other team, that would be 10 for the Raiders. So I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. I'm going to have them around the 6 or 7 win mark, just because the roster is a bit underwhelming for me. But that's just me. Raiders fans, I hope you guys have a solid season. I've never had anything against the Raiders. So that's all from me today. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video where I unveil my number 2016 in my NFL Power Rankings. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next time.